Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate it. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Not a classic movie review, of course. It's the end of the year and beginning of a new year, 2025. This will be my fourth year doing this for YouTube, so very excited. I have a lot of movies I want to talk about this year, a lot of classics. Primarily, this is a classic movie review channel, but every now and then I do get into some new stuff. And so with this being the beginning of 2025, I want to go into my top 10 of 2024. Number 10 spot on the list, we have Knox Goes Away. This movie was directed by Michael Keaton, stars Michael Keaton, co-stars Al Pacino, and James Marsden. Keaton plays aging assassin John Knox. He is diagnosed with dementia, and he has a short amount of time to get his affairs in order with his family and everything before all of his memory is completely gone. It's a very, very well-made movie, an action thriller. Keaton has kind of an estranged relationship with his son, played by James Marsden. Michael Keaton is one of my all-time favorite actors, and I know that he's getting up there in age, but for me it's always a lot of fun to see him playing a badass, whether he's wearing a cape or not. And I also enjoy watching him in a movie with Al Pacino, since he's another one of my favorite actors, and Al Pacino is usually Al Pacino in recent movies, but he's still a legend, he's still great, and it's just cool to see him on screen. Also, James Marsden does a really good job in this film, and it's a good story with some very fun little twists and turns that I really highly recommend. It's a lot of fun, and if you enjoy a good action thriller, Knox Goes Away hits the spot. I really enjoyed it. I hope you check it out and give it a shot too. At number 9 on this list, we have Here. This movie is a very good drama. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis. It stars Tom Hanks and Robin Wright as Richard and Margaret Young. They play a couple in the film. At the very beginning, we see the beginnings of before the house is there. We see the caveman days. We see the 20s. We see the 50s. We see the later 80s and then the 90s. And we just see time going by as all these different families and different people inhabit the same spot, the same house. Although I really enjoyed this film, I can see it not being for everybody because it doesn't have a conventional movie plot. It's more kind of a journey of this family and the people that dwelled there before and after them. And so, yeah, it's not a standard type of drama, but it does feel very original and fresh. And if you're willing to go along for the ride, it has some very good moments all throughout, some very fine acting from everybody involved, and pretty interesting directing choices also as well. So, yeah, number 9 here. In the number 8 spot on this list, we have Longlegs. And for those of you that watch my channel, you know that I'm into horror movies, so you know I'm going to have some horror movies on this list. Longlegs was one of my favorite horror movies of last year, from director Osgood Perkins. Stars Micah Monroe, who starred in It Follows, and this is about a female FBI agent, Lee Harker, played by Monroe, who is on the trail of a serial killer that is killing entire families, but with a little bit of a caveat and something that involves dates and has a bit of a mystery in terms of people that are getting killed on or before a certain date. The film is a bit disturbing, but it's not too disturbing. There is a tad bit of violence in there, but it's not ultra violent. And if you're a horror fan, there should be enough in there to satisfy hardcore horror fans. But if you're mostly into a good thriller, that's mainly what this movie is, with some horror elements in there, with some really good acting and a screenplay that really helped to elevate it above your standard horror fare. So yeah, Longlegs, if you're into that kind of thing, I highly recommend you check it out. And at the number 7 spot on this list, we have The Bike Riders. This was directed by Jeff Nichols, stars Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer. This was one of my most anticipated movies of 2024, and I'm happy to say it turned out to be a very good movie. I very much enjoyed it. It is a very good drama, kind of a crime drama, little bit of a relationship movie. You got Austin Butler as Benny, hooks up with Jodie Comer's character Kathy, who is kind of the outsider in the film, taking everything in from the perspective of the audience, kind of learning everything about this biker culture. Tom Hardy plays the character of Johnny, who is the leader of this biker gang, and once again you got Tom Hardy doing some kind of funny movie voice that's not really his, but it's alright because the guy is a great actor, and even though at first it kind of took me out of it, it kind of settled in after a while, and so I just bought into it because the guy was that convincing in the role. I enjoy movies like The Wild One and also Easy Rider and stuff like that, and so, you know, as an outsider looking in, it is pretty damn fun to watch, and also very cool to see like the challengers when they challenge the leader to like the knife fight, or, you know, like a little rumble to take that leader's spot if you're into period 1950s kind of films with a little bit of crime edge to them. But yeah, The Bike Riders, that's my number 7. And at the number 6 spot on this list, we have Deadpool and Wolverine, directed by Sean Levy. This was just a great time at the movies. I love these characters. I love the Deadpool films, and it was great to see Hugh Jackman back. There are a couple of things in the movie in terms of some of the gobbledygook to explain how Wolverine came back that, I wasn't completely on board with, but during rewatches and stuff, I'm sure it's not going to bother me all that much since it feels like it's going to be one of the most rewatchable comic book movies of recent years. But yeah, it's tons of fun, so much action and humor to behold, and Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have great on-screen chemistry and just a very powerful combo that cannot be denied. If you're a movie lover, this is the kind of thing that's just going to sweep you off your feet if you're into action movies, if you're into the comic book movie genre. Yeah, comic book fatigue, I get it, but when they make them good, it's worth watching, and this one is one of the best films of the year. In the number 5 spot on this list, we have the first Omen, directed by Arkasha Stevenson. I love the original Omen from 1976. It's one of my favorite, not just horror films, but one of my favorite films of all time, period. When I was a little kid, scared the shit out of me. This film takes place in Europe at a Catholic church and centers around the character of Margaret, a nun played by actress Nell Tiger Free. In the film, the character of Margaret discovers some things, follows this mystery that leads to some very dark places. Things that I don't want to get into and spoil because it's always best to go in something like this as cold as possible. Even if you have seen the original Omen, or even if you haven't seen it, this movie has some surprises for you. For casual movie fans, there might be some stuff in there if you're not really into horror that might be too shocking or grotesque for you. But if you're kind of your standard desensitized kind of horror fan like I am, then this stuff is pretty much standard horror movie fare. But either way, it's a movie that I do recommend and I really enjoy. If you haven't seen it, I do think you should check it out. In the number 4 spot on the list, we have Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I dug the hell out of this movie. Directed once again by George Miller, his 5th movie in the Mad Max world. I was really surprised by this. I didn't think that I would like it as much as the last one. And when I went to go see Fury Road, I wasn't exactly all that sure how much I would dig that one because, no Mel Gibson. But Tom Hardy was a good Mad Max. But even in this one, we had no Max whatsoever. We just had the character of Furiosa. And we didn't get Charlize Theron coming back because this is a different chapter. Also in the film, stealing the show every now and then is the character of Dementis, played by Chris Hemsworth, who wears a fake nose playing this villain. One of the most fun villains I've seen in recent years, and it looks like Chris Hemsworth is just having a blast playing this character, which helped to make this movie a blast while watching it. If you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, then you know that Charlize Theron in that film has this metal arm, and watching this character in this film played by a different actress who is a lot younger, you know that at some point that arm is going to come off and that metal arm is going to have to come into the picture. And watching the entire movie, I'm waiting for that moment whenever there's a big action sequence. I was really surprised in this movie when I saw it for the first time. I did not think that it would exceed my expectations or even match Fury Road, but I gotta say, I think it's just as good as Mad Max Fury Road, and it's a damn good action film. Highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, give it a shot. Number 3 on this list, we have The Substance from director Kuraly Fargeet. I apologize if I butchered that name. Pretty bad with certain names, but yeah, the movie stars Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle. You also have Dennis Quaid in the film. You also have Margot Qualley, and Dennis Quaid plays the guy that tells Demi Moore that she's getting too old for her job, which is she is the star of this exercise morning show, and so she's an aging celebrity and she wants to do something about it. She learns of this thing out there called The Substance. She gives it a try, even though at first it's really kind of a scary thing, but she takes the risk, and then it is something that she ends up really regretting. In terms of the makeup effects, there's some stuff in here that really looks crazy, and this is not for the squeamish. If you're a casual horror fan, I don't recommend this for you at all, especially if you're not into the grotesque or things that are considered vile or disgusting. Margot Qualley does a very good job in the film. Just like Demi Moore, I hope that she gets some kind of awards recognition for her part because she did a great job. Dennis Quaid does a good job in the film as well, and there's a scene with him and eating some shrimp that, if you want to fast forward that part, I don't blame you. It is kind of hard to watch while it's going on screen, but it's still kind of tame compared to some of the stuff that is to follow later on. But yeah, The Substance, check it out if you're even a little bit morbidly curious. I do recommend it. Number 3. In the number 2 spot on my list, we have The Return. This was directed by Uberto Pasolini and stars Ray Fiennes and Juliette Binoche. This is a take on Homer's Odyssey, and you have Ray Fiennes as Odysseus. And 20 years have gone by since the big war, and he's come home, but they don't recognize him. It's just a really good story. I really enjoy stories like this. I enjoy old-fashioned tales, epic tales of characters like this that are larger than life. And Odysseus is one of those great larger than life characters. Although this is a revenge tale, it's not an action movie. It's more of a drama with some very exciting moments and some action elements in there. But for the most part, it is a dramatic film with some great performances and some stellar directing. And you can't go wrong with Ray Fiennes as Odysseus. It is a great part for him. And I just gotta say, if you haven't seen this movie and if you're into Greek mythology and that kind of thing, you want to check this out just for the story alone. But yeah, Ray Fiennes in The Return, worth checking out. It's my #2 film of the year. I loved it. But there can only be one #1 on this list, and my #1 on my top 10 movies of 2024 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I loved this movie. I'm a big fan of these movies overall. I love the original from 1968. I adore the sequels. I really enjoyed, of course, the last 3 films that came out. And so I wasn't expecting this to top the last couple of films. I thought those movies, that's got to be as good as these get. You know, they were so good. But no, they get better and better. I think this one was better than the last one, to be honest. And I really dug War of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn and Rise. But yeah, I really like this story. It just keeps getting better and better for me. I love the characters. This film takes place many generations after the events of the last film, where you had the character of Caesar and his story. In this film, we have the character of Noah, played by actor Owen Teague, who takes over as our main ape for Andy Serkis, who did such a great job, a phenomenal job in those last 3 films. But yeah, Owen Teague does very good as Noah. You also have Freya Allen as this human girl that he befriends, who is called Nova. And those of you that are fans of this series, you know that's a bit of a deep cut there. Something else I really dug about this movie is the way they introduced this idea of apes and the way they use eagles in the film. And I don't want to give away the context of that because you have to watch the movie to find that out for yourself, but it's really, really cool when you see it. This film being the 10th Planet of the Apes film to ever come out, there are plenty of references and Easter eggs and callbacks to a lot of the earlier films that I'm sure fans will enjoy picking out every now and then and spotting. And even if you're not a fan, it's still a very good time, very fun in terms of an adventure movie. And even if you're not a fan of these movies, it's worth it just because of the effects, the action, and the story, the characters, the direction, and the script. It is a great time. And there you have it, my top 10 movies of 2024. It's been a very good year for movies. We've had some great ones this year, some good ones, some okay ones, even some crappy ones, which I will get to when I make my top 10 worst movies of 2024. If you're into classics, if you're into movies, if you're into this kind of thing, become a subscriber, hit the bell for notifications on more classic movie reviews coming your way. And please don't forget to comment, share, like, always appreciate that. And please look out for the next video or next classic movie review. Everybody take care of each other. I always appreciate you. Till next time, peace out and God bless.